Chicago, it's time for the Gregory Struss Show. I'm Scotty Joe Vegas, inviting you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes as we go through a whirlwind late fall of Taboo Topics. And now, here's the man when he has gas, he has his own hurricanes, Gregory Struss.
Okay, thank you. Here's a Category 5 for you, and welcome back to the Greg Struss Show, coming to you all the way from the west side of Chicago, and we appreciate you tuning in. And Hillary Clinton is in the news once again. She has a book out. Bob, what's the name of the book? Do you know? We were talking about this before the show, Bobby Mudra and I, before you got here.
I see.
And he was saying that they already discounted the book half off on Amazon. I said, do you think that's a good idea or not? He's like, it's probably an idea that it's not going to sell well.
Or to make all of her people that voted for her buy it.
Yeah. So the thing is that this is the first time that an author has ever charged for book signings. So everybody that bought a book, now all these people buy books and then go to a signing to have the author, who in this case is Mrs. Clinton, and they have to pay her, not only pay for the book, but pay her to attend that hearing.
So then they get an upcharge on it because
Yes.
they get the book for hardly nothing, and then old Hillary comes in and opens it up and says, "Here's your surprise."
Yeah, so books are not cheap, that's for sure. They're usually about, I don't know if that's like a $35 book or not. So, but anyway, she's making the rounds on daytime television, nighttime television, and David Muir, over the anchor of the ABC World News Tonight, was set to interview her, but felt that he didn't want to leave the coverage of the hurricanes in order to cover her hurricane. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's a big cane to cover.
Of course. And then we were also talking about Joel Osteen before the show, and he came under some criticism because he wasn't opening his church for hurricane victims. And I don't know, it's just amazing at how all this stuff happens, that people get really critical, and that because you own a church that you own, did you get that? Own a church, that you're supposed to open it to everybody. And I don't know, if they're not parishioners and not part of the faith.
If there is water in front of the church, they can't get into the church.
Yeah. But do you feel that he has a moral responsibility of opening up his church? I mean, that is his business.
People by not opening his church.
Yeah. So anyway, the moral of this story is that I guess we're not always going to agree on whatever. So I don't know. I have since the beginning of this year cut my cable because it was getting outrageously expensive for the first part, and then I'm like, I'm not watching everything, and then when I'm clicking through the news stations, I just find myself getting upset at the stupidity of what people are doing. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight in our Taboo Topics. What are some of the other things? Do we know yet?
Where are we going to eat tonight?
Yeah, so every week that we do the show, I'm sorry that you're dark. Every week that we do the show, we usually go out to eat afterwards, and so we pick like some of the fine cuisine out here in Elmhurst. But unfortunately, Elmhurst closes at about 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night.
It is a Tuesday night.
Yeah, so we shoot the show on Tuesdays, and everything's closed. So there's
We
a
don't
pizza.
go to bars.
We don't go to bars.
Because we don't smoke, we don't chew, and we don't go for the girls that do.
Oh, amen. So anyway, good show tonight. Taboo Topics for a Indian summer. Lots of taboo topics.
You think I'll get a close-up tonight?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, what did you want to say? Go ahead. Let's see it.
Do I get a close-up, Bobby? Shot, please. Hello, everybody!
Anyway, Eric Bolling over at Fox News was accused of sexting someone several years ago. It's a text message. You take a picture of something that's sexual in nature.
Junk in the trunk.
Junk in the trunk, as they say.
Couch.
Allegedly forwarded it to a female worker who years later shared it with somebody at the Huffington Post, and all of a sudden he was suspended at the beginning of August, and in the last few weeks was ceremoniously dumped by the network. And the night of his, goodbye, so to speak, he never went on the air again, obviously, his son passed away. He was 19 years old. I want to talk a little bit about that. because I think it's intriguing that his father loses a major, major, major position over something that was sexually, involved sexual harassment on a certain nature, history, and I wonder, like, what happened in that. Anyway, I'm Greg. Not to leave this on a bad note, but I was compelled to share that story, and I think we're going to be doing that a little bit later. Anyway, I'm Greg. This is The Greg Show, and we are reinventing community television here from the west side of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Now you say there's 8 times a year that you have Sabbath. Now, are
Yeah,
the
it
rituals?
follows the natural seasons of the year,
Okay.
like equinoxes and solstices and those sorts of things. So we do celebrate all around the year.
Did you know that Equinox is also a company like Amway? I wasn't sure if you knew that.
Yeah, but you can't get franchise in that. You can't get franchises in equinoxes because they don't work.
Okay. By the way, please write us. We'll love to send that to our lawyers. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And welcome back to the Greg Struss Show, and we're with Scotty Joe Vegas, and we're here every Wednesday night on Xfinity Comcast Channel 19, and of course on YouTube.com with the search words The Greg Struss Show. Lots of things going on. How have you been?
I've been fantastic. I'm glad to be here today.
And it's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, we were talking before.
Good to see you, Elmhurst. Sorry.
We were talking before the show about some things that are going on. And when somebody works with family, okay, you have you not only have the family, but you have the family business to go with it, right? So even though everybody has moved on, gotten married, had kids of their own, living in different places, you still have to kind of deal with all of the people that are in the business.
Yes.
And they happen to be family.
They don't have to deal with you, but you have to deal with them.
In what way?
They think they're the boss. I thought it was us.
Oh, okay.
I have to ask you something. Do you remember those old guys on Channel 56, the Insight? There were 2 guys before our show on Channel 56, and they would just sit there and go, "It's Inside with blank and blank and blank and blank." You don't remember that at all?
All I remember.
We're those guys now. We're about their age.
Are we?
Yep.
We were on the station way back. It had to be
89, 90.
Yeah, 90.
91.
And no, it was 90.
90, okay.
So listen to this. We would shoot the show we would produce a show in Dalton, which is the south side, south side of Chicago.
Southwest side.
Southwest side of Chicago. And the studio doesn't exist anymore, and neither does most of the town, for a matter of fact, as the town that we remember. So we would produce the show, and then bicycle tapes all over the place. So we would go to Orland. We had our own little group in Orland Park. Then we had some people in Matson. Then we had some people Oak Lawn. Yep. Kurt Weiss, remember him?
Yep.
So in the TV listings, what paper was it? Was it The Economist or something? What paper was?
It would be the Herald.
Well, it
Northwest Herald or something.
The Daily Herald.
Economist.
Yeah.
Daily
So
Economist.
he would always put the Greg Show with the very brash host Greg Struss.
Wow.
I was like, what did that mean? So anyway, we would shoot the show and then not edit, but take the tapes to, 10, 12 different tapes to all over the place. Now everything's done with a file, except for us.
East Hazelcrest, too.
Oh, East Hazelcrest, yeah. So we'd go into some of the spots. Scott handled most of it. And on the rare occasion that I went out, that he wasn't able to do it, you get to know who was the guy over at Orland. He was a really nice, cool guy. I can't
He's like
remember.
that blonde guy on the
Jay.
Karate Kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like the guy that beat up the Karate Kid.
So we had our own little set of groupies. Oh, Greg Struss is here, and they always made me feel.
And they probably threw it in the trash over that, but it always felt good.
Exactly. Where was that? Where were we talking about that I got onto this?
Well, I wanted to talk about the cross the street at Nick's
No,
Sports
no, no,
Page.
hold on a minute, though. How did we get on this topic? Because I just lost myself. Okay, so WYIN is like
Yes.
this little PBS station out in Gary, Indiana, Maryville.
Yes.
So
We trucked out there one
we
night.
got out there, and then what ended up happening is the program director was a very nice man. He
Very
was the
nice
general
man.
manager, ended up getting very scared of the content of our program.
Yes.
Now, there was this group that came on, and their name was, shop please, in the,
Shot, please. Get it right here, Bobby. Go ahead.
are you there, Bob? Okay, there we are. So,
Remember he crawled us from the control room when they were doing the fundraiser?
literally, he comes out in between the segments and
Yep.
smacks me around with like karate moves. It's not cool. So we're out in, we're running these tapes to Gary, Indiana, and we were on there for very
Maryville.
short, but it's Gary, essentially
It's
Gary,
Maryville.
Indiana. And we were on there for probably about 13 weeks, maybe less. And all I remember, there was a woman who was in programming or something, and she was telling me about how her son didn't like the show, she didn't like the show, but that she wanted to go to Columbia College to learn film.
Oh.
So I remember I was like all of 22, and I asked her, so what do you know about producing television? And she just looked at me. She's like, well, we can't air this because of, well, Zeke and the Freak had this
Yep.
thing. I
Some
think we might
language.
show it, but
But what I was trying to say about the old studio is across the street where Doug Buffone, one of the Bears legends here in town that passed away a couple years ago, nice fella, he hung out at the Horseshoe every once in a while, and he did a show across the street from us, I think it's Sports Talk with Doug Buffone at Nick's Sports Page when we were doing the show, and we would get done with the show on a Thursday night, and he'd have the show over there sometimes over at Nick's Sports Page, which is defunct. So, there you go.
yeah, and it was really nice because Dalton is I thought it was a quaint town. It was a working class town.
We had a theater.
They had a theater, which is
Yeah.
now I think an adult club. But I was talking to a friend of mine who has big money, and I said, you know what? I would love that building, and if you could convert it to TV, that would be great. I don't know how we'll make money at it, but I always thought that would be kind of cool. So, but things change, and the area changed, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Whoever thought we'd be here?
Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about working with family,
Yes.
and it just kind of seems like all the issues are still there at the forefront, and the business is over here too.
When you're a leader, you lead. When you're fighting, with each other, you're still a fighter. You're going to fight. That's it. Tom Brady don't sit there and keep on doing the same behavior over. He's a winner. So, hey, when you point the finger at somebody, you're pointing somebody back at yourself. So,
All the time.
yes,
That's what I say.
I love
yeah.
you, Elmhurst. I love you.
Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about lots of things,
Let's hope so.
including Eric Bolling's recent demise from the Fox Television News Network, and the fact that his son passed away on the day of. And I can't think of anything more painful for a parent to not only kind of have a career blow, no pun intended, but to also lose a child during that. So I don't care how much money you have, how much money someone has. All money is that you don't have to worry about money. It doesn't mean that you get to buy your way out of life happenings. You know, we're
Give
going
all
to,
the money back to get him back.
yeah, and we're going to get sick. Some of us will get sick. We're all going to die. We don't know when, right?
Correct.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, and how that chaos can engulf us, like it did to you today. And we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks for joining. But Bloodsport was
yeah.
pretty much about your life,
Yes.
and then something just didn't work out real well with that. Is that anything that you can go
Well,
into, or?
me and John Cloud were very good friends. Unfortunately, there's an old saying, be careful what you wish for. And he wished to be a star, and unfortunately, I don't think he was prepared to deal with all the temptations that come with it.
And welcome back. We were talking before the break about Eric Bolling over at the Fox News Channel. Now, earlier on, he allegedly texted somebody an inappropriate picture of his genitalia, as they say. And years later, it became an issue. So he sued this reporter for $50 million. He launched a lawsuit and for defamation of character. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But the fact is, he lost his job, probably because of his behavior. I think it would be safe.
He'll get. $8 million. He'll get $8 million out of the deal. Go ahead.
10. He'll get at least a year because
I'm on the under.
he was at 10 million a year, I think, is his contract, and he just signed for 3. So he's either going to get at least 10 or 30, because they have to buy out the contract. So later on that day, the news came out that his son had passed away. His son was 19 years old, was I believe at the University of Colorado or Colorado State, something like that. And I think had just returned to school and was found dead at that in the evening.
Okay.
And right after the announcement came out that the network and him broke, they came to an agreement that they were going to
Very
end his
good,
contract. I can't imagine how he feels. Because not only does he have that career blow, he also has that loss of a son. And the timing of the death makes me wonder, now I can't prove this, if it was in fact a suicide. Because he's 19, I don't believe he was sick. And I'm wondering if he was bullied because of who his father is, and he's on a conservative station. And I think...
we all struggle every day with, when we were kids, there would always be different issues. And I know, like through my personal experience with my family and other families' kids, it's tough being a kid these days, but it's more magnified. At least when we went home to cry from the playground, at least we had a room to go to. Now it's on your phone and all that stuff. So I hope I made my point.
You did. And I think in all of this, we're losing our ability to communicate. And everything in life involves communication. This is communication. We're communicating right now. But how many times in our daily lives are we not communicating? Are we not, oh, well, he knows that. Well, maybe he doesn't know that. And that we have to communicate what we want or what we expect. And I love this because there's a school of thought that, oh, well, you can't have expectations of other people. Well, as an employer, I think you can have expectations.
But
can you
as
not?
an employer, if you have a guidebook to your business and you say, here's the protocol and all that, the human resources, that's what our place I work for, that's what we suffer in, because there was never a book and the rules always changed. I'm not here to whine about it, but in marriage, well, does the Bible count as a rule book of, hey, don't take thy mother's neighbor's wife to Dairy Queen or something?
We can't talk about religion.
Okay, we won't talk about religion.
But we're going to, for the simple reason, how does communication go with faith? It's like almost that if we believe in something that's greater than ourselves, and everybody talks about God. Oh, I don't believe in God. And yet for people that do believe in God, it's become, I can't believe you believe in God. How do you believe in God? Like you're criticized for who you vote for, who you believe in, where you live, what you wear, what you drive.
I believe that's in the Bible. I believe it's a struggle every day that you'll be tested as a child of God.
Yeah. So I'm talking about...
Not that I'm better than anybody or anything like that.
And there's another thing in recovery about faith without works. All right? A lot of people will sit there and say, well, God keeps me sober, God did this for me. Okay, up to a point. But didn't it take a certain amount... Hold on a minute. Didn't it take a certain amount of effort to make things happen?
God gave me the lottery. God burned my house down. You got to be with God, with faith, through the bad times.
God burns your house down or you burnt your house down?
Well, that's the point. So, you got to walk by faith, and then you got to be in blind in times of trouble. I know my God's with me, and I know He's out here in the world. So, take that.
But we've just alienated half of our potential audience because we talked about God.
But I didn't say they had to believe in my God.
Right, exactly. But the mere mention of God, and we're not talking about religion here.
I admire the freedom of religion. Kind of like people that are Muslim They have their faith. To be that loyal to your God. Hey, my hat's off to you. I'm a guy that sits in the back of the church and I don't clap my hands. There's people at my church, they clap the hands. Maybe I always admire their freedom of how they celebrate. But me, I'm from the old school where you just, you take it inside, you talk to God, and you listen to him. You got to listen to what he has to say to you because it's all right there.
I miss the days when we used to have one universal God, okay? And I miss the days, I really think that as I look back on this and the craziness
It
that
wasn't
has
talked
happened.
about back then. It just was.
Right, but what's happened is I really feel that that Pledge of Allegiance that used to be in school was good for a number of reasons, but mostly because we communicated and we shared an experience with each other. We went through an exercise that brought us all together for that 30 seconds or a minute that
It was us
thing.
against the world.
And I don't even think it was, maybe we were at one with the world.
Yeah.
That we pledge allegiance, that we're together.
Well, because we are. That's our country.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of this craziness that's going on right now is that we're not together. There's only a very small group of people, and this is what I love. The media always talks about how black people, they always show black people acting out.
Okay.
Now, what we don't see in the media, there are a lot of Dr. Huxtables from the old Cosby Show, and I don't want to bring him up. But that program was great because it showed that a black man was successful. And there's a lot of successful black people that own very expensive homes, but we don't see that. So the stereotype continues to be fed. Do you agree with that or
When we
not?
lose the color in each of our women and men, that's the only way we're going to go forward as a country. Now, some people want to hang on to it. That's their business. Now, the Dr. Huxtable thing, man, people just want to pay their bills, take care of their kids, be good. They don't want to be labeled. Hey, I'm Polish, I'm Dutch, I'm Czechoslovakian. What do you want me to say? Colonel Parker from Elvis's manager, he was a Dutchman. Oh, I'm a Dutchman! I almost looked like Goldmember.
The point in this
Mr.
is
Mr.
that
Howe.
I really think that the identity politics and the identity religion and it is furtherly, and the fact that people aren't saying the Pledge of Allegiance and coming together for that part of the day. It's part of inclusivity that we're part of the same thing. Hold on a minute, excuse me, because I'm in the middle of my point, and we're going to get off on a diatribe again, and we're going to get lost. If we can get rid of color and realize that we're all Americans, we're all participating in the American process. That includes people that are not here legally. I don't buy this, everybody has to go back and da-da-da-da-da. People are participating in the American way of life. I feel that they're Americans on a level because they moved here and they wanted better for themselves. So we've always been welcoming, and who knows what's going to happen next.
What happens when you get rid of color?
I think we're all the same.
Wrong.
What?
Because you still have religion. And the religion's been around a hell of a lot longer than color has. So maybe our first step is to kind of get rid of the color. Then you're still, hey, I'm Arabic. I'm a Christian. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist.
I think we need to get away from the identity of I'm this instead of saying, we should say, well, we're Americans. Doesn't matter what our religion is. Doesn't matter. No, they don't want to hear it, and it sounds ridiculous.
They don't want to hear that shit.
It sounds ridiculous because let's say, peace doesn't promote sales, doesn't promote commercial interest. When people are fighting,
Yep.
that's what promotes commercial interest.
You sell more potato chips.
Yeah, do you remember when Jerry Springer went to fights all the time?
Yep.
We're going to have a fight every month, every day of the week for November sweeps. And they ended up beating Oprah that season because of it. So when there's conflict, there's more interest. So if we're hating on each other, or hating the president,
That's
or
why
hating
the
whoever,
fake news is there, is to create their agenda to sell ads.
yeah.
And when we're going to look back at this 25 years from now, we're going to be, look how stupid we looked at looking at our phones. Look how stupid we were back then. And what will we learn?
Because we want to be led. I think people want to be led to believe that whatever, that the media is honest. And let's face it, anywhere where there's big dollars, I don't think there's a lot of honesty
You can
because
be
there's greed.
pushed. You can push your agenda any way you want to go.
Okay. We're going to push some other things when we come back in just a moment. And we are back talking about random things and inclusiveness, bringing people together. That's what we try to do on this show, and kind of break things down and analyze it a little bit. And I got to talk with my hand because, that's what it's about. All right. What else is on your mind tonight? We got a few minutes before we wrap up here.
I'm very happy in general. Life is pretty good right now. I heard something about Montgomery Gentry. One of the fellows died today, or in the last couple days. I hope everything's okay in their family. I mean, that's a terrible thing. My daughter is in a school play.
So she's doing well.
Oh, she's
Okay.
hustling.
I want to just say something real quickly here. I ended up going back to school and I got my certification in drug and alcohol counseling. And I left the field about a year ago. And it's something I'm very passionate about, but it wasn't enough. It's like when you do something and you're good at it, people throw more work at you. And I can handle it, okay? I can type 65 words a minute, multitask, the whole 9 yards. And I remember my then boss asking me, why are you doing this? There's no money in this field. I said, get out of here. So I did it for a couple years, and I'm like, there really is no money in this field.
Okay, right.
So I heard from my teacher and my former supervisor, and he's like, you were real passionate about it. And I said, yeah, I'm passionate about it, but it doesn't pay my bills. So I've been fighting it because my certification is up, and I have to take 40 hours of continuing education. I now only have a couple months to do it. And I just question whether or not this is something that I want or need to be doing. It's like I've helped people, and there's nothing more rewarding than helping people.
I think your heart beat a lot better when you were helping people.
Okay. You don't like the okay.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, that's where I'm at.
Yes.
And
Go back to the field, but don't do it there. You got to go someplace else where the money's at.
there's not a lot of money in this field. Not unless you have a master's degree, which is like another $30,000.
Well,
Not that I'm afraid of education, because I'm not.
I know that there's a guy in Chinatown. We can take care of that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. But anyway, that's just my thought for the moment. If you have any thoughts on that, please drop us a line. Also, we are here every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, out here in the Elmhurst area of 65 communities, West Chicago. We are in Berwyn. We're in Cicero. We love Berwyn. We love Cicero.
My Euro guy in Wausau who was from Berwyn.
Was he?
Yep.
Yeah. Nice people there. Son of Svenguli lives there. Rich.
Yep.
A lot of people. I miss the car kebab, though, from the old Wild Chicago days when they used to open up that show. Anyway, Greg Struss, thank you for watching. I want to thank Bobby Mudra for being here as always. He's like our moral support. And that's about it.
He's our hygienist.
Our hygienist, of course. We're going to now go out for dinner and continue tuning in to community television. And that's
Kid
it.
said I was 304 pounds.
Oh, wow. Greg Struss, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye, everybody.